So, yeah, just give me feedback as we go, as usual. In case you're new, you please use the chat. If hey Michael from Portugal, please use the chat to introduce yourself and to let me know if there's anything wrong with the way it sounds or if you're having any problems technically. So as people filter in, I'm just gonna give a few general notes, but yeah, please just feel free to say hello, and that leads to the next thing I was gonna say, which is you'll notice now that when you leave a comment on a page, comments in a forum or on a page, you have the ability to be contacted by somebody else directly through the site. So it's kind of like Facebook, but only for Fiddlehead. It's a little social network. What that means is that if you meet some people today that you want to get together with and chat, or you want to do a Zoom group on your own, you can just contact them directly through the site. Okay. So I'm just going to talk about that. I'm just going to do a few housekeeping things like that because I think it's really relevant to here to you guys because a lot of you have asked me like how can I connect with other people on the site. So I'm probably going to do a little video explaining how that works. But if anybody has any immediate questions on that, I'll take them now. Otherwise, I'll just sort of just keep rolling. Is did anybody use the practice master for Road to Lisdonverna, the little looping thing? Just raise your hand or okay. All right. So, if possible, I want to get going on the lesson, but if possible, if you did use it, could you please either leave a comment on the page or email me what you think about it? And I'm going to set up some more pages to help with that. And if we have time later today, maybe we'll talk about that too. But I think it'll be a useful tool for you guys, and I could maybe demonstrate it more later. Okay. So the last thing I just want to say before getting started is we'll do breakout groups. What I'm probably going to do is wait to the very end, like more towards the end. So if you don't want to do the breakout group, you'll still get a decent amount of the lesson. And then what we'll do is we'll break you into groups where people just want to chat, and then groups in which people want to play together. Okay? So all right, with all that said, let's get started. So we're going to be working with Road to Lisdonverna. Made a little outline of things we're going to do, but it'll probably shift as we go. So, and we're not going to do as much warm up. This is just something somebody suggested. We'll see how it goes. Maybe this is not a good way to do it, but but at the very least, I'd like us all to warm up with the D major scale just once and then the E Dorian scale. So first start with D major. I'm going to play D drone for D major. Let me know if it's too loud or too soft. So we're going to go with two bows, D major. And we won't spend too much time warming up. So I'll count you in 1, 2, 3, 4 for this. Give me a second, make the drone slightly quieter. 1, 2, ready, go. Okay, good. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna build the E Dorian scale from that. It's the same exact notes, but we're gonna start D1 to get the E Dorian scale. So here we go. Um, so I'm just gonna play it once. You can play with me. You lower the volume of the drone a teeny bit, and then I'll let you do it once on your own. So I'll count you in. We'll do two bows for E Dorian. 1, 2, ready, go. Okay, practice the E Dorian scale on your own for about a minute now. Just on your own, with any variations you like. Okay, good. So now I'm just going to show you a fun way to practice any scale. All right. And what this is I just call it, I think I've just been calling it like a progressive build. So we take any scale and do the first two notes up and down. So we would do, why don't we do call and response so you get the idea. So I play something, you play it back. We're going to start with D. 1, 2, 1. Now you try. Then in the next cycle, we do an extra note, so we're going to slowly build the scale like so. Your turn. Next step. Continuing to build. Next step. Your turn. One more steps. Next step. If this is too easy for you, you can add variations as we do these progressive steps. One last progressive step. Here we go. The whole scale up and down. Progressive build. Okay, folks, good work. So if that was easy for you, you can use variations that are challenging for you. Say you're doing the Georgia Shuffle or a slur pattern. You would then use that on the progressive build or double scales or anything else. So we can do the same thing in reverse. So I'll just do it a little bit more quickly, but basically we start at the top and go down one, like so. So open E to A3. This would be a little more challenging. Now add a note, and descending note. Adding another note. Adding more. And with a big throwaway, if you like, building your tone. Another step. Bring out your sound. Another step. Adding second finger. Advanced students can do it more quickly. This is too slow. One one last step before we do the full scale. Wait, we just did that. Sorry. So now the whole scale going down, up and going down and up, like. On your own. Let me know if you have questions. Okay, folks, now we'll move into doing Road to Lisdonverna. Well, let's just play the whole thing. And I'm assuming that you've warmed up to it. I'm not going to teach the tune. So let's just play it together. 2 A's, 2 B's at a slow tempo, just to get into it. And then we're going to play around with it, fiddle with it in different ways. So I'm just going to play the beginning of it a little bit to get it there. We'll do that twice. That's the A part, then the B part. We'll do the B part twice. But we're going to play it more like this tempo. Dun, 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 na, 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 na. Count you in 6. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. B part. One more B part. Okay, good job. So now we're going to start to tie things together a bit and go and try to understand how Dorian scale modes work. So just do the E Dorian scale one more time. On your own, up and down. And now play the first quarter of Road to Lisdonverna. Just to connect those sounds. Okay, and now play a D major scale, once up and down. Starting open D. Okay, now play the second quarter of Road to Lisdonverna. Notice how this resonates with the D scale more. Hear it. Do it a few times on your own. Go between this part of Road to Lisdonverna and the D scale if you like. Make that connection. Hear it. Okay, good. Good, good, good. So now, give me just a second. We're going to switch gears and play a G major scale. Okay. So we're just going to do it very simply. We're gonna go open, 1, 2, 3. All right, I'll count you in. We'll do single notes for now. Since we're so 1, 2, ready, go. G major. Same thing, but add triplets. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Here we go. I'll count you in 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so we're warmed up to that. Who can tell me? You can give me the answer in chat if you like. Who can tell me what will be the Dorian scale for the G major? How do we build a Dorian scale from it, or what will it be? Just write the answer, chat the answer, know it. So I saw one answer come in. Okay, good, good. Both of you guys are correct. All right. And Mike, you are correct too. It'll start on G1, at least what we're going to do now will. So it works the same way as when we went from D major to E Dorian, going G major to A Dorian. And so it's going to get a little bit more complicated for the advanced people and people who are new to this. I'll try to make it clear as we go. Okay. So now what we're going to do is, what drone will I use for A Dorian? Think about it a sec. We'll use the A drone. Okay, good, good. All right, so here we go. And so just real fast, the scale is going to go. All right, so let's try that with single bows. It looks like some of you already started. That's good. So here we go. I'll do it once and then I'll give you time to practice it. Single bows, 2, 3, 4. On your own, practice it a little bit. Very good, everybody. All right. So now let's just do Road to Lisdonverna, starting G1. Adjust my angle so you can see my fingers better. So I'll play a little bit, then we'll start. All right. Yeah, let's just get started. So let's just do the A part. Okay, just the A part once, because I want to move more quickly through other things. So I'll count you in 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if anybody's lost, it's the same exact melody. Instead of starting D1, we start G1. Practice it on your own. Ask me a question in chat if you're confused. It was. I played the wrong tune. Thank you, Lee Holler. I played the wrong tune. Does anybody know what tune I played? I do this all the time. I played O'Keefe Slide. Okay, so thank you, Lee. So I will always make that mistake, I think. So here's Road to Lisdonverna. Okay, now you try it on your own. Okay, very good. Now we're gonna make it more challenging. You can accept the challenge. If you know a low second finger, we're gonna do A Dorian in the upper octave. If you don't know a low second finger yet, just continue playing the Dorian scale down here. Let me do it fast. What we're gonna do, that's A Dorian, but starting open A. All right, so I'll count you in and let's try it. 2, 3, 2 bows. Take a minute to practice A Dorian on your own in the upper octave. If you're not there yet, if you're a beginner, then do it in the low octave. Okay, very good, everybody. So, what do you think I'm gonna do next? What do you think I'm gonna ask you to do next? We are going, yes. Well, no, what we're gonna do is we're gonna play the same melody, Road to Lisdonverna, but in the upper octave. I'll do it fast once. A note for more advanced students who know fourth finger or pinky, you could use it well here. All right. You don't know fourth finger, don't worry about it. So, any questions on what we're doing? We're doing Road to Lisdonverna, starting open A, the A part. All right. I'll play it once. We'll do it once together, and then I'll let you practice on your own. Counting in 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. On your own. Okay, very good, very good. So we started it there. We're gonna just continue the journey. We're now gonna play the same melody, but instead of starting on open A, we're gonna start on open D. We get this. All right, give that a try and then we'll think about what we did after it. First, play that if you can. Okay, so let's pause. So, does anybody know what scale and mode we used there? So we started the tune on open D. I'll give you a minute to think about it. And if you don't, it's okay. Vera's got it. Good. All right. And so that again, we started tune on open D, and that uses a D Dorian scale. All right, everybody try that on your own. Take like 30 seconds. Try to do that up and down. Okay, so now the next question is, what is the parent scale for that? Is a term I like to use. How did we get to D Dorian? Like what major scale would it be built on? So I'll continue to offer some hints while you think about it. Good. Okay. So it would be C major. Here's why, just in case this is confusing. Whenever we build a Dorian scale, we build it from the second step of whatever major scale we're on. So remember when we started with E Dorian, that was built on D major. When we play G major, if we want to find its Dorian scale, we start on the second step, which is A. And then for D Dorian, that's what we just did. We have to ask ourselves, we have to go backwards. We have to reverse engineer it and think, well, D is the second note of what major scale? C. So now we're gonna do a C major scale together. So we're gonna go with two bows. All right, give that a try. 1, 2, 3, 4. C, C, D, D. All right. So let me know if you have questions. And if you're shy and you don't want to ask a question right now, please email me or leave a comment on the page. I understand that. So what I want to do now is we're gonna work towards giving you guys a little open practice time to play with the Dorian scales. So let's give me a sec here. Okay. So we're going to give you a little open practice time to... Okay, so we have a question come in from Vera. How do you decide the tune is in Dorian instead of major? Excellent question. Somebody else asked that in an email. So I'll say the question again. How do you know if we're in Dorian mode or major? And without going super deep into the theory of it, we know if we can read music, we know that let's say we're working with the tune how it originally was. It was in starting on D1. And so this is in the key of D major. Which means that we use these notes to make this new mode of E Dorian. But the question, I think, is saying, well, how do you know that the Road to Lisdonverna is in E Dorian instead of D major? And I think the easiest way to talk about it or to think about it is that the note that a tune ends on is going to tell you what the root note is, the kind of the root note of it. So because Road to Lisdonverna, both parts end on E. That'll tell you that E is going to be the drone, and then from there you can figure out, well, okay, so what's going to be its parent scale? So Vera, I feel like that explanation could be better, so please ask a follow-up question. I'm going to answer another question from Frank. Can you please go through the C major scale? I was just taking notes. Sure thing, Frank. So first off, I'll say that if you've done the G major scale 2 octaves, so we did the low octave, and then here's the upper octave of G major, starting D3. If you do that, you simply start G3 to get the C major scale. Does that make sense, Mike, from Frank's Fiddle? Okay. So it's the same fingering. C major is the same fingering as the upper octave of G major. All right, thanks Vera for your question. Thanks Mike for your question. And Vera, I think I could explain that better. I'm gonna work on it. Just try to make that. But I just wrote a long email trying to explain this to somebody, and I realized it's a more difficult thing to explain than I thought. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is I'm gonna just ask you to practice Dorian scales and Road to Lisdonverna on your own with a scale that is challenging for you. So whatever is the most challenging thing for you. And for more advanced students, I'm gonna suggest some harder things you could do. So what we did today, we did E Dorian, A Dorian, we did A Dorian up starting on open A. All right, and then we did D Dorian. So I want you to play with those, and if you want something more challenging, what we could do is okay, so I'm going to suggest that if you know F major scale, which uses low first, you play that, and you play the G Dorian scale starting D3. So if you're more advanced, I think that'll make sense if you've done low first. If you haven't, please don't even try that right now. All right, just practice the scale and the first and the A part of Road to Lisdonverna on your own, and really try to hear, like if you're doing it in A Dorian, try to play the scale, try to play the tune, and see if you can make a connection. And if it feels good, then go to a different key. And I'm going to answer another question, but if you want to mute me in practice, I'm going to answer Bill's question right now. So Bill asked, when you play this at tempo, do you roll your finger from D1 to E1? I'll answer your question in a minute, Mary. Please mute me if you want to practice. When you play this tempo, do you roll your finger from D1 to E1? You must mean A1. I keep the first finger across both strings, Bill. All right, so Mary, can you play the B part upper octave in A Dorian? So there's the scale. Here we go, Mary. Do it again. All right, so continue to practice on your own for a bit. This is for Shauna. Please mute me if you want to continue practicing. Can you tell me the notes when you played it starting on open D? So that would be starting D, A, D3, A, 1, low, 2. I'll do that a bit. Then D, 1, 3, 3, A, 3. And then G3. Second quarter I'll do. Hopefully that answers Shauna's question. A little bit more practice on your own. I'll wave when it's over. Okay, let's return. Thank you all for your practice. If you did some kind of different key, maybe leave a comment on the page and let me know how it went for you, okay? Or you could even leave something in the chat, like if you tried it in G Dorian or F sharp Dorian or something strange. So now we're gonna switch the practice journey away from transposing and thinking so much about modes, and more do some kind of fun practice things that I've been thinking about, and practice things that I've been doing in my own practice that I think you might enjoy. So one kind of practice approach I've been thinking about is to take little parts of the tune and think of like each little part as a window that you need to practice, and then making it like a little cut of that thing and looping it. And so I think this is going to be a fun little thing, and I'm going to show it to you through call and response. We're going to return to the original key of E Dorian. All right, so I'm going to play an E drone. Let me know if it's too loud. So I'm going to start by playing the entire first quarter. Listen once. Now you try. Good. Now what we're going to do is we're going to cut out something that I think is challenging and make a smaller loop that we practice, but we won't loop it yet. We're going to go. So just do the first 3 notes. This is going to be our practice window. And now here's what we're going to do. We're going to loop that. Just join in when you feel ready. Good. We're going to adjust the practice window a little bit now. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to go. Let's do that once. Try that once. Now we're going to loop this slightly different piece. It'll have a slightly different musical feel and slightly different technical benefit. So listen. Join in when ready. Try it a little bit on your own at slower and faster tempos, whatever you need. Just like 20 seconds on your own, play around with that. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to find a different practice window to practice the transition from the first quarter to the second quarter. So what I first want you to do is play the entire first half. Listen once. Play the first half, then we're going to make a practice window from that. Okay, good. So here's going to be our practice piece. We're going to go. So that's a cut. I cut that out from that whole second half. That's the transition from the 2 quarters. So this is a great way to practice the transition, but then to do a new kind of unique musical thing. So here it is again. Call and response once more. All right, now I'm going to loop that piece. Join in when you are ready, when you hear it. different loop now. Let me mess with that and make it better. So again, this is just from the tune. Here it is again. I'm going to do it once more. Now going to loop that. Listen for a bit and then join in. So let's say you're practicing on your own and you think, oh, that's a great thing, I really need to practice that. Then you can go deeper with it and transpose it to another fingering. So now we're going to do the same exercise. Let's start in D1. Let me do it once very slowly. D1, 2, 3, G2, D, D. Okay, good. Now we'll loop it. Here we go. Join in when ready. Everybody. Now we're going to go back. So that's the idea of practice loops. You cut out little bits. And I don't know if you noticed, but I'm going to go back to doing it in E. When you start to do this, not only are you getting really good practice on different elements, but you're also starting to hear that each of these little bits could be its own music piece, or it could be an improvisational idea. Like, this just sounds totally different than the tune. You could almost build a new tune from it, or an improv. So that's kind of a segue to what we're going to do next, which is a very simple improv format that we've done in some of these lessons. And all we're going to do is play the tune together, the A part only, once. Then we're going to have an open improvisation section. If you don't have any ideas, don't worry, just practice the E Dorian scale with variations. If you do have a little idea, and I would say as a challenge, use the cut and loop strategy, or the practice windows strategy, to find little ideas from the tune and then mess around with those. All right? So hopefully that makes sense. So what I mean by that is just what I was saying earlier. So here's how it's gonna go. We're gonna play the tune, then you're gonna mess around and do some improv, and then we're gonna go back to the tune. I'll count you back in. So we'll all do this together, okay? So, and then I'll ask questions and see how it went, if you had any questions. So we're gonna get the E drone going. I'm gonna play the tune once in E Dorian, just the normal version, improv practice, and then back to the tune. Counting in 6. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Improv practice on your own. And now we're going to go back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'd like to do another round, but first though, if anybody has a question or had a problem with that in some way, please let me know in a chat. And so, all right, so good. Let's see, I'm gonna suggest, what about chord changes? Ask a more specific question, Vera. But for right now, I'll just say that the E drone is support for the whole tune. Even though the chord does change to D major, we can still use this drone and improvise throughout this entire tune. Not all tunes will work like that, but for a majority of fiddle tunes, you can have one drone and play. So hopefully that answers your question. Okay, so here's what I'm going to suggest next. You don't have to do it. It's just an improv prompt. So set down your bow. Let's pluck the entire tune. Improv with plucking. And then go back to the tune. Remember that your improv can simply be playing around with the scale, playing around with different weird things. Alright? So I'm going to count you in 6, plucking Road to Lisdonverna. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And just in case you haven't done that kind of plucking before, you place your thumb here and then pluck with your index. So thumb on the here, pluck with the index. So now improvise using E Dorian scale on your own. Now let's go back to the tune with plucking, counting in 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, next improv practice. I think this will be the last improv practice we do. So just to give you an idea how I would do it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a bit of improvising and suggest that you listen. You don't have to. You can play, you can mute me and play on your own. And then I'm going to give you a space to maybe respond to that on your own. So I'm going to do short little improvs, kind of like call and response. You don't have to copy what I'm doing. I'm just trying to give you ideas. And I'm going to use this technique of taking bits from the tune, practice windows from the tune. So here we go. So if you notice, I took the beginning of the B part and just messed around with that a little bit. Now you try something similar on your own. Try to take a piece of any piece of the tune, mess with it a little bit. Okay, my turn again. I'm gonna play with a different part of the tune, but I'm gonna use the same approach. I'm just gonna mess around with the phrase and change it a little bit. That's the phrase I'm gonna work with. Back to the phrase. Now you do something similar on your own. Take a phrase and mess with it. Okay, so now we're gonna close out our improv practice, but using the same idea of tune, improv, tune. Let's just play the B part of the tune once. I'll count you in 6, starting on open E. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now we're going to wind down our practice. Let's do kind of like the end of a yoga session. If any of you have done yoga, you kind of just kind of calmly end the practice. Let's do an E Dorian scale one last time with 2 bows. 1, 2, oh, 1 sec. 1, 2, ready, go. Finally, we're going to just play D1, and what I really want you to do is relax your body, enjoy the sound, and maybe even close your eyes. You can play patterns, or you can just play the note. Just make it very easeful and relaxing. Just end with a very nice feeling. All right. Thank you all. Thank you all. So I just want to close. We're going to switch to breakout rooms in which you can practice on your own. But I want to just see if any of you have any questions that were unanswered, and maybe we can even have you ask live instead of through chat. Does anybody have anything? Just raise your hand, and I'll do my best to answer. Okay. Yeah, Frank. Go ahead, Mike. Yeah, good.
Hi everyone, and thanks again, Jason. Loved it, enjoyed that very much.
Welcome.
My problem with this, and my problem with all kind of stringed instruments, is that I have no flair for improvisation. I used to play the guitar, and I ended up deciding that I was just going to play chords all the time, because every time I tried to play any kind of improv, lead, blues, lick, or anything like that, I ended up playing exactly the same thing every time because I don't have any imagination. I can't seem to kickstart an imagination to playing something funky or even off piste. I've never had a skill for it. So, do you think there's any tricks that you can have to sort of trick your mind into maybe playing every third note, or I don't know, just something that can kickstart my mind into having some kind of creativity? I don't mind doing what I'm doing, but creative, I'm not at that at all. So,
So the first suggestion I would have is to stop saying that you're not creative. Stop saying that you can't do it. And I know that this sounds like sort of like positive psychology or something, but it's really true. And but then we could back up a second and say, I could just say that you don't have to improvise. You don't have to do it. It's just a fun way to the philosophy I'm developing around improvisation is I'm calling it improv practice, because you basically practice the things you need to practice with improvisation. So for instance, say you're learning fourth finger on the A and it's hard for you, you start to play around with little things that involve practicing that. Simple, like, so you would in this case you would use the A drone. So thanks, Carolyn. Multitasking here. So let's say I'm wrong. It would be E drone because we're practicing the fourth finger on A, which is E. And it's really hard. A lot of that is hard for you to say. So you may want to make up an exercise like, you start to use all the things you know to practice that with the drone. So the thing is, Mike, is that there's not a formula for improvisation. It's sort of a framework that you work towards in an approach. But what I think is nice about using drones and scales and little bits of tunes is it takes the pressure off. You just have to start to mess with the tune. Start to think of it as like a collage, like you're snipping it up into little bits, and that allows you to create new things. So like we did with, I would suggest some starting points is to use a drone, play the tune, do the tune improv tune format, and then to just look to the tune for little ideas, okay? And if you take just a little section of it and mess around with it, if nothing comes up, have the attitude of like, okay, that's fine. I'm just going to practice what I need to practice. So just take a little bit of the pressure off would be my suggestion. It's not a big deal doing the improv. It shouldn't be this big, oh God, I'm not creative kind of feeling. It should just be like, well, maybe I can, yeah.
The next bit that leads into though is, yeah, the improv, I get that. And I do find it frustrating, but the problem that I have is then when I start to practice, just normal practicing, I don't seem to be able to go off at a tangent at all. And I never have been able to. It's not just with the fiddle because I'm new to the fiddle. I never have been able to. I just go up and down a scale all the time. And so there's never any variation in what I do with either guitar or now with the fiddle. I just play up and down a scale and then play another scale and play up and down the scale. I don't have any sort of I don't seem to be able to free my mind to think, you know what, let's do this instead and just let my fingers go. My fingers don't go, they just go up and down the scale all the time.
Okay. I think that's there's a few things we can do to work towards that. But one is, have you tried melodic variations, like the little patterns that you put on every step of the scale? So that'll be one way to start to open up your thinking. Another is to really,
it's in the scale, I'm fine with it. So anyway, sorry, carry on.
Yeah. So there's a lot to it, but what I would just say is that in addition to playing the scales, you can start to mess with them, add patterns. A lot of your approach to improvisation can be just variation. Just think of it as like you're adding variation in creative ways. So you're adding rhythms to a scale. If you do nothing but add variation to a scale, it's actually a form of improvisation that will lead to more things. So you could, for instance, add as many rhythms as you know to the scale we're working on, like swing or different bowings or whatever, and then start to play with the melodic variations. That's the 1, 2, 3 pattern. There's a whole bunch that I teach, and I'll probably do a whole workshop on melodic variation fairly soon. Then you could start to look at challenging things and take them apart. And it's basically like, think of it as tinker toys. Like these tunes are big, or in case you don't know, they're like Legos or tinker toys. You take off the parts and build a new structure from it. So that could be another, and that's a lot of what the practice windows or cut and loop ideas that we were working with today. And the yeah, so I would say start with those, and then let's check in next time and see if if you're still struggling. Just remember, it's not a big deal,
Oh, okay.
right? Just do it. Feel it comes natural. All
Thank
right.
you. All right.
Yeah,
Thanks,
you're
buddy.
welcome. And I really appreciate the question. I also know that there's not an easy answer to it. A lot of it is just diving into the pool with this stuff and just trying to work with the negative attitudes that arise, like there's just so much critical like defeating like thoughts that happen with trying to do improv, and it could really be just a very low key thing. Just screw around with the scale. And don't worry if it doesn't sound original. Just try to practice the scale in a different way.
Go to fiddlehead.com for a progressive, step-by-step course outline, color-coded tabs, play-along tracks, sheet music, and much more. Thanks for watching the videography. Excellent! And don't forget to subscribe. Thanks.